Bringing together diverse voices and roles in agriculture is crucial to educate the public about the truth and importance of our industry. We are honoring those stories and people who are sharing experiences and solutions so that we can work towards a stronger future for our nation. Without agriculture, we cannot survive. Listen to Ag Talk, Your Story Matters, on Rural Radio XM 147.
Welcome to Ag Talk, where your story matters. It doesn't matter if you have 2 followers or 2 million. Your voice has a place here. Have you been thinking about sharing your story and becoming an Ag Women Connect member? If you're listening to this podcast, you're in luck because you can get 10% off today. Simply go to agwomenconnect.com, sign up to become a member, and use podcast 10 at checkout. We can't wait to meet you and hear your story. Hey everybody, this is Venessa Wood, your host of Ag Talk, Your Story Matters. And today I am sitting down with Sierra Franks from Darasett, Texas. There's also a Darasett, Oklahoma. Sierra, I am so glad that we are finally getting together to broadcast your story and what you're doing for women in agriculture. So welcome to Ag Talk, Your Story Matters.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, ma'am. So before we got on here, we met through our Amarillo chapter. It's been a couple of years. So it's really good just to get back together. I've been watching your story on TikToks and what you're doing in the photography world. But I want to know just a little bit about your background, Sierra, where you grew up. And I know this is a big question, but how you got to where you are today.
Oh, absolutely. So we can just jump right into it. I grew up on a cow-calf operation in the Texas Panhandle, far northeast corner. Most of our operation is ran in Texas, but a good amount of it is ran in Oklahoma. I grew up in the passenger seat of my grandpa's feed truck, which there's no better way to grow up, in my opinion. Learning firsthand from him, just the way of the land, his morals, his values, and that just instilled such a big piece into my life, and not just into my life, but also into my siblings' lives. We're a very, very close-knit family. And so working together on a cattle operation like ours truly was a blessing growing up. In that, not only do we run commercial cattle, but we also raise Hereford show steers for Texas and Oklahoma exhibitors. That's primarily our goal, is to just get good Hereford cattle out into the hands of youth in Texas. And of course, we have some that will be mismarked and they'll end up in Oklahoma, which we love as well. So doing that actually got me into the photography world. I grew up showing, traveling all over the country, exhibiting steers that we raised. And so with that, as I got into high school and kind of figured out what I wanted to do with my life, a camera fell into my hands, literally fell into my hands through some friends. And my grandparents caught wind that I had picked up a camera and I was learning how to use it, and they ran with it. Of course, we have a sale every year, and so we hired that done prior to me doing our photos. And so whenever they learned that I was interested in taking photos, doing those kinds of things, they really pushed and really kind of hounded me for a bit. I wasn't sure that that's what I wanted to do professionally. But because of their hope in me and their faith in me and what they knew that I was able to do, I was able to run with it. And so with that, as soon as I graduated high school, I caught an internship with ShowChampions USA. They originally are based out of Canada. At that point in time, they were the premier livestock exhibitors all around the world. They photographed pretty much every major livestock show and event that happened internationally, which was incredible. And so as I joined on with them, that would have been the fall of 2014. I went to Tulsa State Fair with them, was able to pick up a camera, get in the ring, take photos, and that just launched me. I met tons of people, lots of connections, and then just continued to work with them. And, as the story goes, it just happened, lots of hard work, lots of faith in what I was doing, lots of time. But that was kind of the kickstart.
That's awesome. What a fabulous internship to start out with.
Oh, for real. It was such a blessing. I can remember it's actually a funny story. My parents, I had told them I wanted to just be a photographer, and they were like, you're going to go get a degree. You have to get a degree. You need something to fall back on. And so I had moved to college. I went to Weatherford in Weatherford, Texas, and moved to college, had been there for 2 days. And I get the email back that Show Champions was hiring me on. And I called my mom. I'm crying. She's like, Sierra, we're walking into the movies. What is going on? I said, I got hired by Show Champions. And she said, you still have to get a degree. and I laughed in that moment. I'm very, very thankful that they did push me to get a degree, but still, I was just on cloud nine, very thankful.
Sierra, you said that you still got a degree, correct?
I ended up going ahead and finishing my associates in applied science. I didn't go on to go get a bachelor's because at that point in time, I was already so into the industry, I didn't see a need for it. But I now kind of wish I would have.
No, I love this because I feel like there are a lot of women in agriculture that either didn't go to college or went to a 2-year or they learned a trade and they're successful. So, I mean, their stories are just as important. And yes, I love that you talked about your grandparents too. So I have a couple of questions there. What's your granddad's name? What do you call him?
We call him Pa. His name is Stanley Bourne. He would be the 4th generation. I'm the 6th generation that has worked our land.
That's incredible. And why Herefords? I think I know the answer to that, but I want to know your answer.
Well, so kind of a long backstory roundabout telling you that when our family came from Russia, they originally were from Germany. They left, they went to Russia. They lived on the Volga River. When Catherine the Great came to power, that's when we fled Russia. And so we came to Staten Island. They get in. We ended up in Wisconsin for a year, which hilarious enough, Wisconsin to Texas, how in the world does that happen? We could not weather the cold winter. And so they ended up on a train. They come south. They end up in Shattuck, Oklahoma, and then come right over into Lipscomb County. And we ended up homesteading just in between Follett and Darazette. And so whenever, at that point in time, they were raising Solaires. And so it was just kind of like a kind of a deal. But they saw a great opportunity in the polled Herefords. And man, my great-grandfather and my great-great-grandfather just latched onto it because they were so docile. You know, they just did well on the land. And so they launched right into the registered side of it. And so with that, they started raising bulls, females, and then we started having production sales, and it has just stuck.
That is so cool. I love Herefords. Agree. They're docile and they don't mind the cold. Pretty hardy animals. So you said that y'all have a sale every year. Is that a sale that obviously you sell your cattle, but is that a sale that y'all run too?
No, absolutely. So our sale is part of the West Texas weekend, which is the largest steer sale weekend in the nation. Super, super blessed to be part of that. Yes. I mean, you have cattle from Mike Mims, Brian Martin, the Days. Everybody sells steers in West Texas that weekend. It's the first weekend in March. Our sale is called the Power of the Plains. This year was the 22nd year that we've held it and brought cattle to the South Plains. So they're on display in Idalou that first weekend. And then they sell that first weekend in March online through SC Online Sales.
Wow. I mean, that's right down the road from us. And I know some of those people. I went to school with the Mims, Ryan, and I know of the Days in Meadow. So, okay. So you bring the cattle to Idalou, but is everything sold online?
Yeah, there's multiple sales. I mean, I can't even tell you how many cattle are sold that weekend. It's a huge amount for sure, but there's lots of live auctions that are happening, but there's lots of online auctions so that we can all kind of maximize our time. Otherwise, if we all did a live auction, we would be there for weeks on end, in my opinion. And so, you know, back then we just didn't have the numbers to do the big production, you know, the live sale, the glitz, the glamour. And so it was originally, we held it out of the Texas Tech Livestock Arena there on the Tech campus in Lubbock. And because of COVID, we actually hold it now out at Long Cattle Company in Idalou.
No, that's cool. I'm glad I asked that question. You're a part of a lot of things. So I kind of want to get to the basics here, Sierra, on the cattle side of things, since you're knowledgeable here. What are people specifically looking for when they are buying? Let's just go with Herefords, a registered Hereford. What is it that would set one apart from the other?
Oh, absolutely. So we don't do registered Herefords anymore. My dad has a couple very, very small herd to raise, just kind of keep genetics back on that Hereford side. Primarily, we raise the Hereford show steers. So those are clubby. They're not registered by any means at all from us. But, everybody, they're looking for just good, sound, functional animals that are going to go out and compete. Our family, we've been very blessed with a lot of success in the past, lots of champions at Fort Worth, reserve champions, along with at any of the slick shear shows as well in Texas, which has been incredibly awesome for our family. Like I said, very, very blessed in that facet. And that all goes back to my grandfather, his mind in the genetic side of things. But I believe that our core is making just good functional cattle that are sound at the ground, but are going to be able to go out, have that look, and be able to compete.
Okay, so I saw something on social media the other day about people who are raising these show cattle, and then I want to phrase this in the right way because this is kind of controversial, and it was very interesting to look at the comments because people want to know what happens after that. Sierra, are they pulled back to be mama cows again, and are they sufficient enough, to stay or to be used for meat after that? I don't know. They're saying show cattle cannot be brought back to the farm. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting. Have you seen that?
Yes, I know what you're talking about. I think that's kind of been like a long-standing stigma in the industry. Wholeheartedly, I would say anything female wise, if you are showing it. My older brother showed some heifers. My sister has shown some heifers, some commercial heifers, and then she's had a registered heifer. Every single one of them has come back and produced on our ranch. They've outproduced themselves, honestly. And that's the goal whenever you're producing and raising females, is you want them to be able to come back and outproduce themselves. Now, on the steer side, absolutely. Our end goal, it's Fort Worth. That is the granddaddy of them all whenever you're talking show steers. And so whenever we're talking getting one to Fort Worth, we want to make sure that they're fed right, they're conditioned right, so that whenever we get there and we can brand one, they go to the sale of champions, they don't come home. Of course, that's hard. As producers, that's really hard. My sister, she'll be a junior in high school this year. She made the sale this past year with a steer that we raised. And so our family, we see those calves from, we know they're probably their granddaddy and their grandmama. Like it's been a part of our ranch story. So we put the embryos in all the way through. We calve out the cows, you pick out your steer, you raise that calf. And so we've had that thing from the very beginning, like from whenever it was very first thought of. And so when you're talking about working with those animals all day, every day, like we do, we get them in early in the morning. Those things are rinsed 3 times a day. They're in a cooler room. They're taken care of. They're loved on, they become part of your family for more than a year. And so you get to Fort Worth, you make the sale, they don't come home, but you know that it's because they're going out into the world to feed the world. And that's why we do it.
It's been a long time since I've talked cattle, Sierra. So I was raised with cattle, but it was more of a mixed herd. We didn't get into the showing, even though I wanted to. I went more of the equine route of things. But it's really interesting to hear that and to see that lineage, of the, the granddaddy and then the mama and then the babies. I think that is so special. And out of all the cows that we had, I remember the ones that we bottle fed, and I knew the mom, and we knew the daughter, and we knew the granddaughter, and they come part of your family. So now, are your kiddos showing right now, or?
Not yet. They're still too young. They've done a couple of like peewee showmanship kind of deals, but not yet. Now, Truett, my oldest, he is 110% convinced that every show calf that we raise, they're his. In fact, our leading seller for this last sale, his ear tag number was 750. He sold to some friends over in Hansford County outside of Groover. That calf was his through and through. And I'm sure you saw on TikTok, there's a video of him sticking on that calf. Loves that calf. We have to go check on him every month. That is his calf through and through, but sold to a different family. So in his mind, absolutely, he's still in it. He's still showing, but just not yet.
That's awesome. I always say like the world can learn so much from people in agriculture and stories like that. That's why,
That's why we do it.
That's why you do it. Okay, friends, we're going to take a short break. We are just getting started with this conversation. Hang on. We'll be right back with the rest of Sierra's story. Okay, friends, we are back from the break. Sierra, let's talk about the internship. Walking into that, what was it like?
Oh man, I was terrified. I have family that lives in Tulsa, and so I was like, man, if something goes real haywire, I'm going to be good. But it was just the idea of everything I've ever wanted is right here at my fingertips. At one of my senior banquets, they asked, "What's your 5-year plan?" And I told them, I said, "I'm going to be working for the world's largest livestock photography company in 5 years." And for me to be able to look not even 6 months later, and here I was like with the opportunity to go to work for them, that was humbling, because I can remember, I live in a small town, population 300 people. And they're like, "You are not, there's no way, you're from little old Follett. There's no way." And sure enough, I did. So it was super humbling, very scary. We went into that week, and Bruce Keel, at that point in time, he was the business manager for Show Champions. He was taking backdrops, and I was getting ears for him there. And that was the very first day, getting ears for him. And so as we were kind of talking, and then he realized how much I knew about a camera, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to put this camera in your hands. Why don't you go out in the ring and take some ring shots?" And I was like, "Okay." He said, "After that first class, you come back to me." I said, "Yes, sir." So I go out, take some ring shots, come back to him. He fumbles through them, "Okay, I'm going to delete this one. I don't love it. I like this one, whatever." And we did that class after class after class after class that day. And it was junior heifers. And so it was a long day. And so, in and out of the ring all day long. But I was just on cloud nine because I had the opportunity to have a camera in my hand at a national level show, taking images of kids who a lot of them I knew from my day in showing. And so it was really, really neat. And so after that, I had a show steer for Denver that year. So I went home after my internship, obviously still on cloud nine, loved it. I knew that we had other opportunities coming forward, but I also had school. So I had to balance those two. I get to Denver with my steer and placed fourth in like lightweight exotics, get to the backdrop, take a picture. Joellen Rathman was taking the photos, and Joellen knew me from my junior career. And she said, "Are you going to come to Houston?" And I laughed and I said, "Do they have openings for Houston?" And she said, "Oh, Sierra, yes, you need to come to Houston. Bruce just keeps talking about how great you were at Tulsa." And I said, "Okay." I said, I'll reach out. And so immediately get back to the stalls, tie my steer in, get out my phone, email Bruce. I'm like, "Hey, Joellen said that you guys have openings for Houston. If there are still any available, I would love to go." He almost immediately emailed back and was like, "Yes, Sierra, we'd love to have you." And so, of course, spring break, my freshman year of college, I wasn't at a beach. I was in Houston at the International Brahman Show. And truly, that was the week that changed my entire trajectory of my career. I met the Guerra family from deep South Texas, so La Muneca Cattle Company, and the amount of just push that family has had on my career is undeniable. They've trusted me with a lot of their photos. They've trusted me, they've put my name in for lots of shows. They've asked me to come down and judge a show at their event. They've asked me to come and photograph a show at their ranch. So it's truly that week, meeting that family changed everything for me. And so as we finished out Houston, the owner of Show Champions, he really pursued me to just keep coming back, keep working. And so I did. Those days were long. You're talking 14, 15, 16 hours in a ring some days, very minimal lunch breaks, restroom breaks, water breaks, lots of photographing. And that just really just laid the surface for me. That was the building block. And so from there, just, continued to work for Show Champions, travel with them, travel all over the country, which was absolutely incredible. Getting to see new places, getting to go to a lot of the old shows that I didn't get to go to as a kid, but that my great-grandfather had stories about. And at that point in time, my great-grandfather was still alive. And so he was just not doing great, still wasn't getting out of the house a lot. But when I'd come home from a event or a trip, I'd go stop by, check in on him, and he would have questions, "Well, how was the Nebraska State Fair? Well, did you get to see Upstream? Did you see the Upstream crew there?" And those were old names that he remembered from whenever they were in the registered business. And so getting to tie in a lot of those names that he still remembered and knew, and then into my stories and the new people that I was meeting in the Hereford world was really neat, even though I wasn't just photographing Herefords, but it all just kind of tied it all together.
Very, very cool. Okay, so I know Sierra, 'cause I've worked for a couple of photographers, and I know, so you've got your time that is spent in the arena, but then you have a whole nother job when you go home, when you have to edit. So walk us a little bit through that, like how much goes into it.
Absolutely. Oh man. So now owning my own company, it's really eye-opening, but I learned so much early in those days. So from Show Champions, I went to work for Legacy Livestock Imaging, which Heidi, they're based out of Topeka, Kansas, still one very, very close dear friend of mine. And so still go and do some work for her from time to time. But working through those two companies, you learn totally different ways of editing styles, editing times, just tips and tricks on how to speed things up. And so as I opened up Uplift and rebranded and became Uplift from Sierra Franks, and then started training my own girls, the biggest tip for them was, man, knowing your settings, knowing what you're capturing, making sure that our images on the back of the camera look almost perfect, so that whenever we go home, we just flip through them as quickly as we can, make sure that everything is crystal clear. If we need to crop a little bit, maybe a little bit of a highlight drop, just kind of make the colors a little bit better, we can do that. But we need to be getting through them as quickly and as efficiently as possible, because every minute that we are editing is a sale lost. And that's hard. That's hard whenever you've gone and you've pictured for 12 hours, been on your feet for 12 hours, and you have to turn around, go home that night, edit, and then turn around and do it again the next day. And so the quicker that we get at it, the better it is for all of us. And so I just, very, very fine tuning on the back of the camera, it just helps us.
Yeah, absolutely. That's smart. You get it done right when you're out there in the ring and save time.
Most definitely.
How quick of a turnaround do you have, Sierra? Like when you're doing these shows, you have to have pictures the next morning usually?
Yes. So a good amount. So we actually just finished up Galveston County at the end of April. And that show, yes, we have to turn photos around the next day to the show for their auction list and for any of their promotional material that they need. And that show is a little bit different because they don't start until 6 p.m. at night. And then you shoot until about midnight most days. So you're almost working the night shift. It's a little bit different than most normal shows, but it's to keep kids in school, which understandable, especially, they need to be in school, obviously. So that one's a little bit different. There's some jackpot shows that they don't need the turnaround time as quick, but we still try to get them up within 24 to 48 hours.
That's impressive.
That's the goal.
How many shots do you take?
It totally depends. I can tell you that there's a rather large show that we used to shoot down in the Rio Grande Valley. And, that's 10 days. We'd have 25,000 photos from that show that would hit the website. Now, that's not anything that we culled out, or whatever. That was 25,000 images on the website. So.
My goodness, girl.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to talk about the shift that you made. Now you have Uplift Photography, so there came a time that you felt the need to start your own business. So what led you into that?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of my favorite stories to tell about the business. So Uplift was purely created on wanting to change the industry, wanting to change the face of the industry. And it's not necessarily, that we take more elite images or we take, better video or we have better content. Our biggest thing was changing the industry in the way in how we treat people. So our hashtag, our tagline is make kindness loud. In everything that we do, everybody who I hire, we make sure that, they're not only treating each other right, but we're treating everybody right. And I mean, that's in the ring, that's outside the ring, that's at the backdrop, not at the backdrop, no matter where we are in the world. I want people to know, hey, that girl has to be tied to Uplift because of how she treats people. And I believed, at that point in time, whenever I rebranded Uplift, which was 2021, there was a real big need for just kindness in the industry, which I felt like we were just really missing out on. We had kind of become a little bit of a mean girls club in a way, and it had become not fun to be around. And I was hitting a burnout stage where, man, I don't know that I want to do this forever, simply because of how people are treated. And so that that was the kicker. And truly, it was because of Joellen Rathman as to why Uplift became Uplift. On that very first Houston trip, I had worked a very, very long day, and kind of got drugged through the mud a little bit at the end of the day because I hadn't turned in a card, and I didn't know, and that was on me 100%. And I can remember I was in tears. I was in the bathroom, and Joellen, she followed me in there and she said, "Sierra, you were made for this. Like, you are meant to be here. Like, there is a reason, there's a purpose. You're supposed to be here." And that has just stuck with me. And so as Uplift became Uplift, whenever I kind of started, rebranding, kind of toying around with the idea, a lot of the conversations with my staff at that point in time was, man, it's just a hard industry to work in. I just don't know if I'm supposed to be here. I don't know if I belong. I don't know if this is what I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life. And I felt led, God called each of us to this time, and we're here for a reason. We're all friends, and we're supposed to make a difference. And it's not a negative one. We're supposed to make a positive one.
You can feel that energy off of others. And I knew there was a story there. So I absolutely love that. And Uplift, I mean, that's a great name. So I have to ask about your staff, because you've mentioned them several times. So here's a chance to brag on your staff a little bit.
Oh man, they are second to none. Let me just tell you, we joke, there are very few people that you can get in a vehicle with and you can travel across the state. And I mean across the state. So I'm in the very northeast corner of the Panhandle, and we picture a lot of shows in the Rio Grande Valley. So that's a 14-hour drive. And so there's times where they'll jump in and we will drive clear across the state and picture a show together, long days, late nights, early mornings, turn around, drive all the way home, and we're still laughing. And like, we get to my house, everybody gets in their vehicles, and it's, well, when are we going to do this again? And there's very few people that you can do that with. And our entire staff is that way. We love to spend time together. Yes, of course, there's still the typical headaches of anything and everything, but truly everybody is just so good, so kind. We're all God-fearing people. And so we're able to, share encouragement to each other throughout the weeks, throughout the days, even when we aren't together, which is so nice. No matter where we are in the world, no matter if we're shooting for other photographers or whatever it may be, there's just a group and a sense of encouragement that I absolutely love with our staff. And they're a blessing. They're just such a blessing.
Oh, how many women do you have that work with you?
There's approximately 10, just depends. Sometimes there's more, but there's a solid 10 that are pretty steady. Now, for bigger events, when we have to pull others in, there's some more that we'll pull in. But so my list is about 25 total of the people that I'll reach out to. Yes, but there's 10 solid ones that are constant.
Sierra, that is amazing.
It is. It's a blessing. Like I said, I love it. Being able to pour into the next generation of livestock photographers, and just not even livestock photographers. I mean, they can be portrait photographers. They can be rodeo photographers. They can be landscape, or I had one text me yesterday wanting to do real estate photography. No matter what they're doing, being able to just pour into each other and encourage, just being a light to each other is incredibly important to us. And so it's awesome.
Yeah, if we have faith to trust God's purpose, we have to trust the process. I heard that this morning and I was like, oh, that was so profound. It looks like you found your process, found your purpose and your process.
Yes, very thankful for that. Took a lot of weeding, but we found it.
Yeah, that's another great point too. So that leads me to my next question. When you're talking about who all works for you, I'm assuming most of them are all photographers, but does your business, does it encompass more than just cattle photography? Do y'all do any other types of photography sessions?
Yes, absolutely. So we actually joke that we're probably one of the most rounded photography groups. We do everything. So not just cattle, livestock, not just shows. We do lots of sale photos, which is huge. Lots of promotional photography for ranches. And then we also do quite a few like rodeos, ranch rodeos, college rodeos, and then a lot of portraits, weddings, seniors, families, babies, those kinds of things.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I don't know how I missed that, but of course you do. So with all of this, okay, you have an empire here. Let's call it what it is, Sierra. How do you do it all?
Oh, man. It's hard. It's very hard. Single mom of two boys, balancing everything. I live close to home. I mean, I live 7 miles from the ranch. My grandparents live just a couple blocks from me here in town. My parents live on the ranch. Without my family, there's no way I could do it all, for sure. They're just so quick to jump in and say, hey, if you need to go, we've got the boys. Hey, if you need to do this, we can do this. And so they are 110% my backbone. And then outside of them, it's my staff. They're just so quick. If I need help with something, I can text the group and say, hey, can someone help me with this today? Absolutely. And they just jump right on in. And, we're a big group of women. Lots of ranching wives work for me, which is pretty neat. But then there's a lot of, single young women. So we're from all different walks of lives that we can, if one person's busy one day, the next person, they're probably free, which is huge. And so if it weren't for my family and my staff, there's no way I could do it all.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like your staff is very much so like family. So
very much, very much.
Okay, friends, we've got one more break. Hang on. We'll be right back with the rest of Sierra's story. Hang on tight. All right. We are back from the break. Sierra, you said something earlier about, I truly believe that God does show us how to prune. You said weeding, kind of the same thing. So do you mind elaborating a little bit of what that looks like for you in your journey?
Oh, absolutely not. I can definitely share. It's a big part of, kind of what I preach to my staff whenever they do come to work for me. Like I said, there's a lot of young women that come into the industry, with a lot of the same background as what I have, knowing that they love the industry, knowing that they just want to pour back into it. And so, there's livestock photography companies are a dime a dozen today. And so one thing I found is, we all operate differently. We all treat our staff differently, whatever it may be. We all have different things that we do for them or compensation of any sort. And so one thing that I just really pour into the girls is your value, in your heart of hearts, what your value is, and do not back down from that. Early on in my career, I felt like I needed to bend and sway for anybody who I worked for. It didn't matter what they needed, didn't matter how many hours, didn't matter. And for little to no compensation sometimes, or sometimes it was simply being just like run into the mud and then not being hired by that person again, or, whatever it may be. I feel like in our industry, it's become such a thing for us to hire these young girls and think, oh, well, they're young, they're naive, they don't know. Whereas I think it's so incredibly important to know that they're not just a number on a paper, but they're humans. And, they're someone's daughter, they're someone's girlfriend, they're someone's mother, and treating them like basic humans, making sure that they're fed, making sure that they have those restroom breaks, making sure that they're taken care of, that they're in a good hotel, they're getting good sleep. I think that that's incredibly important. And so that was a big part of my weeding process, just culling out, the good, the bad, the ugly, and just making sure that I kept the good of the good for who I was, for who I was becoming, and for who I felt like, or what I felt like Uplift needed to be.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I just hired a couple of interns, and as you were saying that, I was just thinking about them too. I think in the ag industry, I've heard several times, which I think there's a need for this too, especially when you're young and you're trying to learn things, is it doesn't hurt for you to spend your time and not get paid. But there also comes a time where, okay, like these women are maturing and they do have something to bring to the table. And that can't always be this, that can't always be the situation. They have to start somewhere. And so I see both ends of that for sure, but everybody needs to be valued, whether it's their time or whether they're getting compensated, or it's in the little things like what you said, are they being fed? Are we driving the speed limit?
Yes. Yes.
As a mom too, I've been very cautious of that. Like if they've been in the car with me, I'm like, okay, like I have somebody else's kid in the vehicle with me. I'm going to make sure that, I don't show up on Live 360 as a risky.
Yes. As a little race car.
Yeah. I was like, their mom's going to kill me.
Yep.
But yeah, it is the little things that matter. And gosh, these young women, they remember more of how we make them feel more than anything. So
yes, absolutely.
Okay, so this is one of the questions that we kind of talk about towards the end of the conversation is so you're a mom to two beautiful children, you have an amazing business, but I want to know what you do for you, Sierra. Like, how do you fill your cup? I know that you're a very faithful person, so yeah, take it away on that.
Oh, absolutely. I love this question. I just asked a very good friend of mine this question the other day. And I think it's so telling of who a person is as to how they fill their cup. It's hard. It's hard in today's day and age. We live in such a society of just go, go, go all the time. And if you're not going, then you're losing in your mind, because that's what social media tells us. And so man, my filling my cup is I am at home or I'm on the ranch, and we're either on a four-wheeler, which if you follow my TikTok, you see it a lot. We spend a lot of time out on a four-wheeler, just checking pastures. In the evening, sunsets are my thing. And if we can there's one spot on the ranch that if I can go and I can just park a four-wheeler and just sit, watch the sun hit the horizon, man, that's just good for me. That is my silence, my time to just get away, unplug, and just sit and listen, which is rare for me. Other than that, I'm at home. If I can be at home, I'm going to be at home. And I love to work in my yard. My grandmother is very much a yard person, and she would say that she could kind of instill that in me just a little bit. So I have always a yard project of some sort happening. I actually purchased my great great uncle's house a little over a year ago. We completely gutted and remodeled it over this last year. We got moved into it in October. And because of that, I didn't get to do a lot of yard work last year because we were just trying to get all the inside done. And so being able to just be in the yard and, unplug in that way, touch the grass, so to speak, is nice, is good for me.
Yeah, grounding.
Yes. Being able to cultivate something with your hands, there's just nothing like it.
Well, I truly believe those people are some of the happiest people on earth.
Yes. It's the simple things.
It truly is. I'm the same. I love being at home. I love cooking, a good glass of wine, sunsets. I do love four-wheelers too.
We got to have four-wheelers.
Yes, we do. Yeah, I got tickled at the kids because my husband likes to buy equipment or four-wheelers or knickknacks and then turn them around. And so our latest four-wheeler he brought home, and I got on it one day, and the kids were kind of looking at me funny, and they're like, "Oh, you know how to drive a four-wheeler?" And I'm like, "Let me show you something. This is how it's done."
Yes. Sit back and watch, okay?
Oh, I love it. I know that Krista's got to get off here in a minute, but she might have a question real quick.
So we're all business owners here, and we do have several business owners that are members of Ag Women Connect and listeners that are as well. As business owners, we go through a lot of pivots and a lot of growth stages. What would your advice be for somebody that is either wanting to pivot or is like ready to take the next step in business? Because you have 10 people that work for you like that. You don't go from working for yourself to having 10 people work for you overnight. So, what can people do to kind of grow their business and get to that next level?
Absolutely. I feel like whenever you hit that point and you feel like there is a pivot coming, you can feel it. You know that something's on the horizon. And to me, I used to really struggle with that. I was just like, man, let's get there, let's get there, let's get there, let's get there. Anymore, I'm more of okay, let's sit back. Let's reevaluate everything that we're doing right now. How can we do it better in this next step? How can we do it better in this next season? What can we do that sets us apart from everybody else? And then lots of prayer, man, lots of prayer. I have my close friends, my close family members that they know pretty much everything that's going on with my life at any given time. And it's not just so that they know, so because they're nosy or anything. It's because I know that they're going to pray. They're going to sit back. They're going to be praying for me. They're going to be praying for our next steps. And a lot of those people work for me, which is huge. And so they know a lot of the inner dealings with my heart, with my family, what's going on with Uplift, what's going on inside of the business. Not every detail, but a lot of them. And so they know how to also pray for our business and how can we better serve our industry and our clientele.
Oh, that is good. You are full of wisdom. So to wrap it up, I got to hear a funny story. I know you have one for all of the road trips that you have taken. I know how silly girls can be on the road.
We have a couple of them, typical us girls. We have our songs that we love to listen to, and we can just jam at any given time. We have a nickname. My car, we call her Black Betty. She's a trooper. We can load her down and the girls all hop in, turn on the music, and we know they'll just pass my phone around, cue up music. There's no telling what's going to come on. If we ever pass you on the highway, we probably know you didn't see us because we're probably singing at the top of our lungs, or we're sitting there like just absolutely pouring out what's going on in our lives. So obviously lots of good stuff coming from not just the silly, but yes, we do have some very, very funny stories. A lot of them end up happening typically in a picture pin, and actually one of my favorites was probably Bennett was little. So this would have been 2023. Yes. January of 2023. No, February of 2023. We finished Fort Worth Stock Show for my family. I left there. Bennett and I drove to the Rio Grande Valley. I had a staff of photographers down there photographing a show, and I had a set of Beefmaster heifers that I needed to photograph, and a place that I had never photographed before. I knew the family, but I had never been to their operation. Knew a little bit about their cattle, not a lot. And if you've ever been in a picture pen with cattle, there's no telling what could happen at any given moment. So kind of a head on a swivel kind of a situation. Like I said, Bennett was with us, and he was little, like just about to turn 2 at the time. So he was rather small. And so several of my girls were with us. We're out there, we're picturing. Bennett was kind of getting tired. And so one of the girls took him to the car, which was just like a pin over. I mean, we could see the car. He was tired. So she kind of like laid him down for a nap. Windows are rolled down, nice, early spring afternoon. It was, I don't know, sunny and 60 maybe. Windows are rolled down. We're picturing. We're getting to some waspy cows. I mean, these things are kind of high-headed, kind of coming after us a little bit. The hired help had decided that we needed a barricade of panels around us to protect us. And so, we're trying to get through these things. One of the cows runs one of my girls up and over the fence. And all of a sudden, I can hear Bennett just talking. And I'm like, wait a second. And so I glance over, and he is standing in the driver's seat of my car. Of course, the keys aren't in there, but he's standing there. And I was like, what in the world? And so one of the girls goes and gets him. I'm like, man, that was a short nap, because he's typically like a 2-hour napper. And she goes and gets him. We finish up the day. All is great. We get in the car. I don't have a rear view mirror.
Oh, no.
So he had like ripped the rearview mirror off of the car, and I'm like, where did he put it? We have no idea. One of the girls realizes her drink is nowhere to be found. We cannot find it. So finally we get back into town. Of course, we're just cracking up. I'm like, oh my word, this would happen. We get back into town. We get to the Airbnb. We unload. Everybody's looking around. Okay, where's this rearview mirror? Where's this cup? Because it was a 32-ounce gas station cup. And we're like, where in the world is this? I happened to open up my console. He had placed everything down in the center console. Didn't spill a drop. We have no idea how. 2 years old. That is still probably one of the funniest stories. Because I told her, I said, you didn't like buckle him into his car seat? She said he was asleep. I didn't think I needed to buckle him in. And I said, well, I guess we found out that we needed to. So he's our little monkey. He keeps them entertained. But that story, oh man, it was just such lots of high emotions that day. And then for it to end that way, it was pretty funny. So
Yeah, that's too cute. Not a drop. Wow.
not a drop. Yes.
Well, I am here to tell you that that part doesn't stop. Stuff goes missing all the time with kids. And I'm like, sometimes you won't find it until 6 months to a year later. I mean, we've been looking for my son's headphones, and they just mysteriously showed up. Mysteriously. I'm like, you little stinkers. Like, where was that? I'm really glad that you found them, because they were his Christmas present, but.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Too funny.
Okay. What is next? And then how can people get a hold of you?
Oh, absolutely. What's next? Oh, goodness. We're right in the middle of summer run. So actually, I leave next week. Well, on Father's Day, I'll leave and I'll go to Missouri. I'm going to photograph for Heidi. So Legacy Livestock Imaging at the Mini Hereford Junior Nationals for her in Chillicothe. So I'll be there. From there, we have Uplift has AJSR, which is the American Junior Cimbra Roundup. It's in Brenham. And so we'll finish up with that. I have a set of bulls and females to photograph down in the Rio Grande Valley that week right before 4th of July. And then the second 4th of July ends, we're in Fort Worth for Texas FFA Convention, which is one of my favorite events of the year. It's an opportunity for us to give back to an association that built so many of us. And so we enjoy just spending a week in Fort Worth with all the kids and the advisors, the staff there at Texas FFA, and just give back, do what we do, capture all the images and all the moments. And yeah, then from there, we're kind of in a lull. I go on family vacation, which I'm super excited for. We do that once a year. All of us go to Colorado together. And then we hit the fall run, which includes all over Texas, New Mexico, Kansas, and just about anywhere else in between. So.
My goodness. Well, if you are ever around Lubbock, Texas, you better call me, message me, and let me know. We should meet up for sure.
Most definitely.
Or if you're busy, I'll just come bring you a tea or a Sonic drink or something.
Oh, that's a deal. That is a deal. We love HTO around here.
Oh my goodness. Yes, girl. Look what
It is so good. They came out with it last summer. We were obsessed with it.
The cherry tea?
The cherry tea. It is to die for. So, but yes, getting a hold of me, it's pretty easy. You can get a hold of me on any of our social media platforms or on my personal ones. And then you can also visit our website, www.uplift-imaging.com. And it has our email there as well, where you can contact us. So.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for spending your time today with me and being a host on Ag Talk, Your Story Matters.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of Ag Talk, Your Story Matters. Make sure to tune in every Tuesday for new episodes and learn more about us and our mission at agwomenconnect.com. You can find us on all major social media platforms, and we can't wait to share your ag story.